I've got a really exciting guest on because I want to first off by saying a huge thank you for sponsoring this booth this year. It's been an absolute pleasure to have your sign up above here, and the number of people and the amount of excitement I've heard about J2 products this year has been quite something. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it's because we've stuck to the same beliefs about creating the most realistic, authentic LVT flooring and delivering it in a way of focusing primarily on the quality, the service, and the value it adds to the retailer, giving them a product that allows them to make margin, allows them to have confidence they can get it quite quickly. The fitters are going to enjoy fitting it, and I think they're the values we've always sort of focused on and ensure we basically they're the core principles of the business, and it always will be. Because I think to build a brand, it's not just about personally the name or how you conduct yourself away from the product. I think a lot of it comes down, and we've got to build it from within, and that is instilling confidence in the retailers to get the products and the designs out there, and then effectively that's how it's built. And I think that's where the popularity's come from, is from people seeing the product and working with it and getting behind it, and then like you say, that seems to be the formula that we abide by, and it seems to work.
Yeah, and I think from what I've heard over the last couple of years that people, installers in particular, are the people that are kind of the backbone to the J2, like the J2 journey, I suppose, because all I've ever heard is raving reviews about the product, how easy it is to install, what it looks like, how it feels, how impressed they are with the manufacturing that goes into the process behind the J2 products. And I think that's a real testament, because I think one of the things, we've always said at Cochrane & Co that you should work backwards. And by that, what I mean is go to the people that are using these products day in, day out, make a splash with them, and then from there everything will just falls into place. And so I think there's an increased demand from installers in particular for their retailers to be displaying J2 products and having it as an alternative product there from other brands as well. And I think even in like the forums and things like that, it's everything. I've never ever seen one bad comment ever about a J2 product, which is absolutely testament to you and the team that you've got there. Recently, I heard on the grapevine that we are. Tell me about UK manufacturing. What's that look like at the minute?
Yeah, so obviously a few years ago, J2 we invested in a company which allowed us to move into the market to offer more bespoke designs that the huge manufacturers over in the Far East, most of them in Europe, can't really do, or they don't really. It's not a mass production product, but it allows you to enter into a market which allows that bespoke option as well as the mass herringbones, planks, tiles. So I could see that, and obviously it was working with Sean Baston, and I could see his technical prowess and how skilled and passionate he is about LVT. It aligned with J2 as well, so it was quite an easy sort of decision to make to invest in that, to allow it to be a product that we could open up. And obviously earlier this year we actually acquired the business fully, and Sean came on to J2 as a director as well, which was the main point of that was, I think it was because I think over the last 2 years of working together, I think you could see that the passion for myself about LVT and producing and being the best in the business, trying to produce the best products in the market and striving to be that company. It aligns with his values, and I think like I say, bringing us both together into one company, I think like the saying goes, like two heads are better than one. I think sometimes I do feel a lot of things in not just flooring industry, but in a lot of industries, people are always keen to find ideas, I can do that better myself, or I'm going to do that myself, I'm going to copy that idea and do this, instead of actually just aligning you. So finding the people who align the values and putting your heads together and creating a better product and a better company. And obviously, so since that's come on, obviously it allowed us to, before obviously we did bring it into the J2 flooring company. It's allowed us to effectively have products manufactured in the UK, which is also an end goal. I'd love to be able to produce the whole process in the UK, so everything from the planks to the herringbones to all the ultimate, the basket weaves, every little design we want to do, but obviously that comes in time. We'd love to do it to support more manufacturing in this country. I think it's lost its way a lot in the last few decades. But yeah, having that option, it does allow us to create, like say, bespoke products. We can react very quickly to a market change, to a shift in design, a shift in popularity. We can also make bespoke products if it's a client who wants a certain design making. It's something that it gives us the flexibility and adaptability to move into markets that not many LVC producers can do, because they don't have the facilities we have.
And I'm guessing as well, there's this also comes hand in hand with things like quality control as well. It's a more efficient process with checking the end product, rather than it being something that's out of your control. Is that one of the other advantages of this as well?
It's a huge advantage, because especially for the more intricate stuff and the more intricate products that we produce, it is very much about fine details, fine margins, very small pieces, cut, beveled. Being able to obviously control that process, we know we can see it from the minute it comes onto the table to the minute it's literally put into a box. We've got the quality control there. We can check the squareness of designs. We can put the pieces together. We won't let anything go out without that process. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people might think it's a straightforward job, but to get the quality control, to ensure that, like I say, we back bevel every product, that is an extra process within the process of manufacturing, which takes a lot more time. But the reason we focus on that is because we are building a brand, we are building a product, and we are building a company based around quality. That is the foremost part of our ethos, if you like. And being able to check those little minor details and putting those into the product, we see from first hand, like you said before about the forums, the fitters, when we speak to them, asking the questions, they appreciate that, and they appreciate those little details. And it takes longer. We don't make as much margin because it's costing us more money to do that process. But if we take that process away, we find that all of a sudden we don't have a company, because the quality goes, and people's confidence in our product goes. So it is very important, the quality, and we do, like I say, we do monitor it very, very closely. And having it in this country, having it under our own roof, every single piece we can monitor.
So what does that quality control process actually look like in layman's terms for people that are interested? Because I mean, I know I'm going to come back to this as well, but you recently wrote a paper that I absolutely loved, and I want to touch on that as well in terms of consumer buying behaviour and things. But why is it really important for you to have that, like, attention to detail, and even for somebody that doesn't understand that installer kind of process, what does it mean by having like a back bevel? Like,
so basically, we're obviously in the manufacturing process on mass production. So in the Far East, in many factories in China and the Far East, they use a different type of cutting method.
Right.
Whereas obviously the cutting process we use is akin with a blade, someone who's fitting the product with a Stanley knife and the blade. So as you cut through the product, you naturally produce a bear on their back, which you'll see many times fitters, as soon as they've cut through a plank, they they scrape off
Strip
the
off this. Okay, I
off
get
the
it.
back.
Yep.
So obviously when to the product, obviously to make sure we do the back bevel, that just ensures the burr is deburred basically. It's taking that off. So
Okay.
when the fitter takes it out of the box and he's got a piece that's already been cut, it doesn't have that issue. And it obviously, it's like say, it's the same. It has to be done in every process, like say in the factories, in the mass production. It's a big part. Obviously, when you've cut through LVT, that it's always there. So you've got to make sure that's taken off. And obviously, if we didn't do the back beveling process on some of the planks, there may be a little bit. So it's time consuming for an installer to take that off
So
on manufactured
where
planks.
does that sit in that whole journey from in that quality control process then? So like what is step 1 to step 5 of making sure the quality of the product that's going out on that truck is absolutely as it should be?
I think it just, like I say, I think we have testing stations within the facility. So every time we're cutting the product up and it's going into the box, we're taking sections out, we're checking it, we're checking calibrations, we're checking. There's lots of things that go into it. More than, to be honest, I'm not as technically minded as Sean is, because Sean's department. But essentially, we do have, obviously, like say, quality controls. We have jigs where we test the product in for the squareness, for the cuts. We make sure, obviously, like say, the blade's sharp enough. All these things. I think that's just in every quality control environment, whether it's flooring or manufacturing cars. I think you've got to have a process. Whatever you're manufacturing, it's got to be tested along the way. So obviously, this process is not as detailed as say putting a car together, and there's not as many components. But every time we cut an item, and obviously some of the products that we do produce, which have say like 21, like some of the Victorian products have 21 different pieces within a 9-inch square tile. So to get all those pieces to be cut exact, obviously within the fraction of a millimetre, they have to be perfect. So, but because we set it in a jig before we tape the product, and obviously the product's put in a box with the carrier tape on the top, it's tested before it goes in. So if there is a piece that doesn't fit, or it's a bit too small or big, obviously we've got that chance to take it out because we can see it. So more or less every single piece that's been boxed has been tested, especially when it's the more intricate sort of the geometrical products.
That's fascinating. Like how much work goes into that to just get that right. I think it's really important that to touch on, like, to talk about the quality part of it. I was listening to, I saw something on LinkedIn, which was Stephen Bartlett, when he does his podcast. In the background, he's and I don't know whether you've seen it as well, where one of their like little bits of attention to detail that they do on absolutely every single episode that not usually is public facing, is that they actually create like a memory book, and they do photographs, and they put together a photo album for every single guest as a memoir of what their experience was whilst on this, like on the Diary of a CEO. And all of the guests, all of them, said that out of the entire process of going on and recording that show, that is the one thing that has got like the biggest attention to detail, the tiniest little attention to detail, is the thing that makes that product way better than what it seems to everybody else. Yeah. And it's usually those things that don't stand out to everybody. So I think it's really important that. Okay, so with that in mind, staying in line with the technology and things behind it, you've launched a new product range at the Flooring Show. Tell me a little bit about that and where that's come from.
So it actually leads quite well from the attention to detail, because it's called Iconic, and that is a prime example of our attention to detail, the obsession with LVT and the producing the best quality, most authentic product on the market. And a lot of people might think, it's just another LVT and it's just another wood effect with a deeper emboss. But obviously, to produce the product, it started life from basically selecting actual pieces, going to a timber mill, selecting pieces of oak, finding the parts of the planks of a natural product that we really liked, having those scanned, having them put into a print film, selecting the colours, finding the most authentic designs in natural wood, and obviously from having the print film made is working with some of the, so working with the print film supplier, so where there's a bit of a knot where it's a bit too pronounced, have that softened and have certain parts more pronounced where we want it to focus on the detail. So obviously using the inspiration from a beautiful natural product and engineer it slightly just to make it as perfect as it can be. So that was the first stage, and obviously then from the embossing point of view is, I mean, when we look at creating a new range, the main thing is we look at how can we make this the best product? What does it need to be? What are the frustrations? What concerns have people made to us before? So obviously going back to the film, one of the issues with LVT in general is that you don't get with a natural product is the repeat. The repetitive planks. So usually LVT is on a 184 mil wide board, you're usually getting about 6 repeat planks.
Okay.
So that was one of the factors we said, right, well that reduces the authenticity of a product. So how do we tackle that? So we have an A and B film. We have 2 films. So we have 10 repeats on the plank.
Okay.
We have 54 on the herringbone. So it allows it to look more natural. So then obviously going back to the embossing plate, we worked tirelessly, Sean specifically, of creating the embossing plate as deep, but not, basically it was crafted, it's been crafted for hours and hours and hours, and when we get samples, that's nice, but that piece not right. And going back to the drawing board every time to make sure when we bring a product out, it's as authentic as can be, and that's what the journey's been with this new product. So people might say, oh, it's just a new product, and look at the price point, look at the texture, and the colours are nice, but I think the attention to detail and the actual obsession of bringing in a product that is better than anything on the market is what strives every day. So it's always been the thing. Natural timbers, when we brought that range out sort of 6-7 years ago now, and I won an industry award for design innovation, and that was born around that same concept of bringing out the best product that there is. How can we do that? And obviously with technology changing, and we've obviously done that again with Iconic, and we feel it's had a fantastic reception, and it's looking forward to it. It's going to launch in January.
People are excited about it, I think. How much of that actual process are you personally involved in? Do you get to choose colours? Are you involved with Sean to be able to create that product? Or
yeah, I think because of the size of the business we are, it's also, again, like I say, we've it's harder and harder to focus on lots of other things. But one of the main, I've always done in the business is the product development.
Yeah.
I think what's been nice about having Sean on board for the last sort of 6 months or so is the fact we've both got the same. Our opinions are exactly the same.
Right.
We've both got the same vision, the same goal. So a lot of it's just bouncing ideas off each other. There's never really a conflict of ideas, and I think having someone like that though as well, it helps push, and I'm the other way, and it helps create a product. So like maybe if Sean was with me when we were developing the natural timbers, it would be even better. But having this now, I'm very much involved in the whole process. It's something I'm very passionate about. So I love being able to bring a product to market. That's what gets me more. That's what gets me going more than anything is the fact of starting a product from nothing and seeing that come out, and seeing people buy it, seeing people lay it on the floor, comment how nice it is to fit, how nice it looks, how happy the customer is with it. That's what gives us the motivation, and I think, like I say, so being part of the whole process, I was there when we were selecting the timber. We've got a picture in the new brochure. You can see me picking the timber pieces with Sean. Then we're going back to the print film supplier. We're seeing the film. We're going back. We're looking at it together. We're saying that needs to be softer. That needs to be more pronounced. Communicating that way, and it's been a journey we've both been on. And like I say, I think, to be fair, parts of it I've probably gone, oh, I'm accepting that, and then Sean's gone, no, it needs to be better. It can be better, and I'm like, can it? And then it does come back better. I'm like, oh, fantastic. And I think having him on board and working together as a team, this is what I was saying before, is about two heads better than one. It does bring a better product to the market, and because you've got more people who are aligned to the same vision, bringing that in. So.
And how long has that process been from conception to completion?
It's like 12 months.
Wow.
So because this is the thing, we didn't want to rush anything because, and to be honest with you, we've launched it at Harrogate. Obviously, the range is only due out in January. Obviously, it's a perfect platform to launch it because it's obviously the industry, the national show, and what have you. We've got a lot of people seeing it, but yeah, it's took us 12 months of crafting the product, and like I say, it's not, and I think that's what people don't see behind the scenes, which is what focuses that little bit of detail. So that little bit of that knot that we've muted, and we've spent hours discussing and how it would look good, and having the samples made. It's things like that which I think you don't see, but when you see it in the final thing, it all comes together, and people say that's a fantastic product. But it is those little details that took so long to produce and to decide on. Then eventually it comes to fruition, and you see the product, and yeah.
So I'm guessing then, make an assumption. So you have got a creative flair. Would you say? Do you think you're more drawn creatively to the industry?
Creative. Yeah, I am more creative than sort of practical and that side of things. Yeah, I've got. Oh, I feel I have got a vision of products and how I want certain things to do, and I think that's what. Yeah, I think has always been the case, though. It's with my I've got like a marketing back. Like that's my thing really, is the creative side of the business. I think when you get bigger and you do need to increase into teams, and you need to have more managers, and you need to put more systems in place. That sometimes is a bit harder for someone like myself, because I'm very much involved in the creative side and the product development side and the colours and the designs and that side of things, and the marketing and the brochure. That's all comes from myself. And obviously, like I say, now with Sean on board, it gives me that backdrop, and we can discuss things. But yeah, it's definitely something. I love the creativity side.
I was going to say, actually, I mean, it might you might tell me to sod off, but as somebody's for me, I look at this and say, J2 is your baby. It's the thing that you've developed, you've grown. It's almost been like that's your journey. How does it actually feel now to have somebody else, apart from that, two heads are better than one? How does it actually now feel for you personally to be working alongside somebody else in that kind of capacity?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, if it was anyone else, I think I'd have struggled. So if we'd have took on like an outside investment company, which then starts asking for figures and starts asking for margins and starts asking for lots of sort of financial aspects of the investment, I think I'd struggle, because the financial side and the money has never been a motivation for me. It's never been. It's always about creating a product, and don't get me wrong. Obviously,
the byproduct of that is
and the byproduct is a success, and the money comes. And obviously, I'm very much aware and clued up with how to run a business and financial side of things, and that isn't something I take and just think about the creativity. But it's not something that spurs me on. I want to create the best product on the market. So bringing Sean in, it's actually been a fresh air, because I've never had a soundboard as well to bounce off, and I feel like, say, we've got we're very much, and don't get me wrong, and I think the decision has happened over the last 2, 3, 4 years of getting to know someone a lot better and realising the type of person they are. It's allowed me to sort of not let my guard down, but to bring someone in, and because I know it's the right fit for the company. And I think when you start a business from scratch, it's a lot of it's all you, and you have to do everything from the financial side to the wrapping the parcels to everything. But then what you tend to find is as it goes on, you need good people around you. You need good people within your business who you can trust, and who can help elevate you, and who has sometimes better ideas than you, and
is
makes you
better
think.
at you than
Yeah,
certain things.
exactly. Yeah, and
Mhm.
and I think you got to have that humility, and where you realise, well, I'm not the best at everything, and if I want this business to grow to where I want it to grow, you do need a team around you, and and Sean was roughly the first sort of. He's been the first person to come in. We know if we want to grow him further, we're going to have to look at even more people.
That was
So,
going to be my next question now, because knowing the skill set of both yourself and Sean now, going through a period of growth or expansion, you know, surely there needs to be there's a third wheel that's missing there in terms of being able to support that growth from from an maybe not so creative person. So what's actually next for J2? What is your vision that you've got at the moment?
I think a lot of it is comes down to the structure of the company. So,
Yeah.
like I say, I've been the marketing manager, I've been the managing director, I've been the warehouse guy, I've been unloading pallets,
Yeah.
I've done everything within the business. And I think when you get to a certain size, you start to realise your systems that you had when you were doing 2-3 years ago's turnover were fine then, but now the straining at the seams, the stock levels, the warehouse procedures, the operational side, that's where potentially we need to look into bringing people. I mean, I don't really think it needs to be some people to bring in a certain level, but it's more from myself and Sean and the whole team we've got already. We just need to come up with some structures in certain parts of the business. And obviously that's also in terms of sales structure. We need to look at the areas we're weak in, they're strong in, and grow it there as well. So there's, I think, like I said, I think what I've said this to a lot of people is, I find it easier to start the business from where it started in 2010 to get to this than where I see it from now. I find it as more of a challenge. I think it's like setting up a business again, and I think a lot of people who've gone through periods of growth can resonate with this, because they'll see the fact that you need more people. You can't do everything yourself. You need to find a system that works for expanded growth. You need to invest in teams. You need to invest in structure, operations, lots of different things. And like I say, it's a challenge, but I actually, because I love the business and I love it's my passion, I don't see it as a chore. I see it as a challenge.
I was going to say, it's a good
relish.
challenge to have, isn't it? And that's exactly the same. And ultimately, that's the reason why I'm asking that, because I've worked with so many companies that have either been very fast growing, so the exponential growth, so 2 or 3 times the turnover that it had last year. Tom and I have done that ourselves, and I think where the biggest hurdle is exactly that point. You get to a certain point, and you go, now we're at a bottleneck. We've got to now strip everything back, go back to foundations and go, okay, how we set the business up 10 years ago isn't really how this is going to be able to be taken forward. Yeah. So what are our systems looking like at the moment? What are our processes involved? What are our standard operating procedures? How are we training our teams? Who do we need on next? And it's been a lot more strategic than kind of maybe where we've been from before. And I think that is really hard to do. And sometimes it takes a lot for people to, the switch in mindset as well, that some people struggle with, and it's great to hear that you guys see that more of a an exciting challenge. Some people sit there and they'll sit there for years going, we don't want to do anything different, we don't want to grow anymore because we're quite happy where we're at, but you've got to learn to let go, I think, is the thing that I say to a lot of people. And sometimes we've got to slow down to speed up, so we get to a certain position, take our foot off the grass a little bit, and maybe just sit there making sure we're fine-tuning anything, because sometimes those people that don't do that start then dropping the ball. We then start having issues with stock. We then start having issues with quality. And I think from what you're saying is that's the biggest, most single crucial component of what you're trying to achieve at J2. And so having that kind of broader spectrum of skills within the business is going to be really crucial, I think, for you in the next few years, isn't it?
Yeah, it 100% is. And I think, like you say, you touched on it there, is as you grow, you've got to realise as well is you can't take your eye off certain parts of the thing, but you need to you've got to look at the business from an outside perspective and say, right, what parts of the business. So, like I say, I do all the ordering, the marketing, this, that, and the other. So, it's looking at like the order processing, the purchase order side. that can be, I know that's an area that's going to give me then time to focus on growing a structure for the sales team better, or structure for the warehousing team, or the operations, and growing on different parts of the business, like the online portal that we're developing, and obviously the room visualizer that we have, and adding in new products in, and working with those sort of teams. So I think, like I say, we have a list as long as we're on what we can do, but we do need to delegate more, and myself needs to delegate more. And I think that comes with sort of, like I say, a way of it's there's this two-way thing. Is one's a financial burden that you think, well, it's going to be another person, but you also then realise, well, that person frees up time somewhere else with it, so it's worth the money. And the second is thinking someone can do it better than you, and realising actually someone can, because if they're focusing 100% of the time on that, they actually probably will do a better time, because I've got to do that, then jump onto something else.
Yeah.
I think
you stretch yourself so thin.
Yeah,
at one point, it's just like, which you've got to have so many. You've got to be like an octopus, I think, at sometimes when you get
and you
to
miss
certain
things,
size.
and things go wrong. And one thing I don't like, I do like to is I do more or less know all the customers. I keep my eye quite closely to the ground, and I think, or ear to the ground, I should say, and speaking to a lot of the customers, and making sure if I see anything, I follow the social media, I speak to customers, good customers, any sort of frustrations they have within the system, whether it's a delivery or getting the products incorrect or whatever, because every business has issues and problems that arise, and you have to. So I think not losing touch of that is very important, as well as you develop a team until you can pass that onto someone else who cares as much. So I think, like I say, we've got a great team around us. Everyone is very, very much passionate about the business, and they share the passion I have for it, and they want it to grow, and they don't make mistakes on purpose. But I think sometimes I look at it and go, it's not the individual, that was probably the structure for me. So take the pressure and think, it's actually, I need to change something to help them.
Yeah.
And that's where I think sometimes is you as the MD, if you like, you need to take a step back and go, right, I can't be harsh on these guys, because they were doing it when we were, like, say, doing 10 times less than we are now. And they haven't had any extra infrastructural change or structure to change that. So that is what we're doing now. We've made lots of plans, and we've made lots of changes already to the system, and it's just, I think as you grow, you've just got to do that. But people are massively important. So
Excellent. So what is next? Can you share with me anything that is next on the agenda?
We haven't, to be fair. It's just carrying on as we are. It's trying to get more business, trying to get more customers to buy into the J2 brand, and work as a partnership. We're trying to build a longevity in the brand. We're trying to look to build relationship with retailers, with customers who can see the value that we add, see the products, and continue us in the journey, as opposed to see us as another LVT, and we are another, can't deny we are another LVT brand. There's a lot out there, but I think we want people to buy into what we're doing and see our vision, as opposed to just J2 sells LVT. It's more like where we're going, and I think we've got a lot of good customers who already see that, and they can see the vision, and they want to join our journey and be hopefully there in 5-10 years, when we are sending 20 people in a week to their stores, and they backed us from day one. So it's having people understand that vision and working with that. That's where we're sort of looking to go. When people probably say to, what's your 5-10 year plan, it sounds really bad, but I actually don't have one. I'm very much about working for today. Don't get me wrong, I've got ideas, and I'd love to get to a certain point, but we just keep growing as we are. We've grown from starting in 2010, and it's been a slow burn, and we've always reinvested, and that's just it is now, and that's how we sort of will always be, I suppose. But.
Yeah, and I think, touching on one of the things you just said then, I think one of the buzzwords that Tom and I have used for the last couple of years is all about network, collaboration, community, a united front, like power in numbers, and really looking after the communities that actually we're there for. And I think one of the things that I really struggle with, somebody asked me about growth of our business, and we could grow really quickly, but I'm like you. I don't want to take my finger off the pulse with the people that have been there with us from the beginning. I want to still have that personal connection. I still want to be open to those conversations. I don't want somebody else to be taking care of that. And so I think in one respect we're kind of a victim of our own success. And at some point you're going to have to let that go. And we're doing the same thing at the moment of trying to build that, of expanding that network more, utilizing people within our business that have got the same passion, the same enthusiasm for what we do. And I think that's really, really important. It's really important to go forward. And I think it is one of the things that some brands get lost with.
Yeah.
Like they forget about the people that actually matter. And I think that comes across really strong in the J2 brand and how that is. It's very approachable. It's very friendly. It's about the people. It's about having that personalised connection. But how are you going to make sure that you don't lose that?
Yeah, I think that is a challenge. I think, like I say, it's quite easy for me to be sat here now and the size of our business and say, compared to some of the brands and some companies out there who are employing hundreds, thousands of people, who can say, we've been through your journey and we know as you grow, it's quite hard to keep that connection. But I think for me, it's quite important that and don't get me wrong, we could have grown a lot quicker years ago, but the reason we didn't was because we wanted to maintain this focus and grow it the way we want to grow it. And that is obviously keeping that personal touch. We understand it comes down to relationships, and everything does, and having that sincerity about the brand and the product is more important. So if that takes us extra years to grow to get to that level, then so be it. If we have to wait to find the right member of the team to do that, then we will. If so, yeah, it's a massive thing. But I think every company, when they're going through growth, they have to address the issue, but it is trying to keep that personal aspect close to home is very, very important to us. I love to speak to people. I'm answering people's messages on Instagram at 10 o'clock at night. I'll take a WhatsApp message from customers and try and deal with it that way. So, but I think that doesn't bother me. But I think sometimes you and that's the personal aspect. But you've got to have someone who can also do that within your business, which then allows you to sort of progress as well. But
I agree. So, coming back to the paper, the bit of research that you did and posted across quite a lot of the forums and LinkedIn and stuff, I found that a really interesting read, and I think it is certainly something that we as a flooring industry have lost sight of, is that looking at anything, we don't seem to have anything that is specifically for the flooring industry. You look at ONS, for example. So ONS surveys don't really give us a really clear understanding of what's happening in the market and consumer buying behaviour and things. What are maybe the top three things that you think that people need to be aware of from that piece of research that you've done?
I think the reason I wrote that sort of article and research and did the research was mainly because for years I've been trying to hit home about the J2 brand, about we offer a better value for money, we offer better product quality, we offer great service. We've built the brand, we started building the brand in 2010 based off my experience working as a retailer in my father's business and the frustrations we had with many LVT suppliers back then. And when I created the brand and the company, it was based around the values of what I would want as a retailer. So what I found even when I was a retailer is the consumers. Obviously, I was quite fortunate that my dad's business had been 30 years, been in the town. Lots of people used to just come. It was the go-to shop. But what I realised is we could actually sell people whatever we wanted to sell them. And because we were genuine people that didn't rip anyone off, we offered the best service. What we tend to find is if we got a great deal on a carpet or an LVT product, it was quite easy for us to, if it aligned the customer's expectations, the colour and the quality and the price, we could save them a lot of money, sell them something that made us actually more margin, and everyone was a winner. And we didn't have to sell a certain brand. So with the paper, I've been heavily involved in the online side of selling on and from that business back then. I'm not now, but obviously back then I was, and I was I'm very much data focused. I love looking at search volumes online. I love looking at the trends. Obviously back in 2010, I think Google Trends didn't really exist. It was more the AdWords, so you could see the search volumes and of what people search for. But I was quite intrigued to see back then, which I knew from 2000, my knowledge from 2010 was the search volume for big brands was higher than the actual LVT flooring category. But as without researching for a good decade, but just from the conversations I've had, the way I see the market, I've understood it's changed. So looking at the searches and looking at how consumers have changed, and as the product category has grown to 70, 80 different brands, the reason behind there are people entering into this LVT market is because it's growing. So obviously you want to understand now, compared to the searches for the bigger brands, what was the people searches for the actual product category.
Yeah.
And obviously, and I want to understand the reasons why that's changed, and why obviously people are searching for the product as opposed to the brand name. And obviously I've realised over the time that's helped by the consumers saying what the product is and educating the customers, but it also comes down to like a generational change. Whereas obviously when I first looked 2010, I think it was the baby boomer era was probably buying the LVT flooring. They were the biggest market segment for that product. And as it's changed, it's moved to the millennials and Generation X, which is currently the biggest market of LVT. And their buying behaviours is more shifted around research about value for money, sustainability. There's lots of factors that they research more so than a product's strength of brand. And don't get me wrong, it comes down to the brand, and the confidence within a product brand is important. And that's in anything from food to cars to any consumable product. But a lot of the time is what I was trying to get across to retailers is the value of their own shop should not be underestimated. And I think the value of, if they're first, second, third generation, they've been there and they've existed for that amount of time because they've got customers who trust them and buy off them.
Yeah.
And I think, forget what brand you have in the shop, essentially that customer will probably come to you anyway for the service you've given them.
Irrespective of brand.
Yeah, it is. And I think they just want, and because they trust you, and most retailers run a very sort of legitimate business where they will promote and they obviously have the industry and the expert knowledge to promote a better quality of products. So if they know within the industry there's a better product out there for that consumer, which can save them money and obviously hopefully and along the way make them more profit as well as a business, everyone's a winner. So the consumer can save some money, they can make some more profit. So the idea is to try to educate the retailer to understand that they have more worth than they think. They don't need brands to drive business into them as much as they think they do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the consumers within that locality would be visiting them based around, if they've got a good reputation, they are going to get a good amount of business, a good segment of people coming through their shop that they can sell to. And also, like I say, even if it did drop off, but they can sell a product that makes them a more margin and more profit, in effect, they don't have to work technically as hard. So sometimes if they're not governed by a certain product or a certain category or a certain brand, it allows them to focus on their shop, what they believe in, what they like to order, what doesn't cause them problems. Because at the end of the day, we know in a retail environment there's lots of problems you have, from fitters to estimating to consumers' expectations can be miles off so that causes a bit of conflict. There's lots of problems that can arise within. It's a very service-led industry. So having a supplier that you can trust and rely on is more important than what a brand can give you when you are an established.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more on all of that. In fact, Tom and I had a podcast earlier that touched on all of that kind of point. We've obviously got an ageing population of installers at the minute. And one of the questions that I keep getting asked is, do I think that independent retail as a sector, as a section of the industry, is going to grow? i.e., are installers more likely to be starting to retire now, come off the tools, and then say, what's next? And now we're going to then suddenly see a whole host of new independent retailers come into the market? Or do you think that actually that retail is going to slightly decline in the next 10 years? What's your personal take on that?
I do think it's a big problem, the lack of installation, because it means there's not as much product can be installed. The demand is there. We can see the demand's there. I think the flooring trade installation is not recognised as a skilled trade, being a problem for younger generations,
Yeah.
apprenticeships, and being recognised from leaving school. Me personally, because I'm within the industry, I can see, and my son's just sort of started college, and I speak to a lot of his friends and say, look, after 2 or 3, 4 years, if you really sort of learn your trade, you can be self-employed, you can be earning some really good money, and obviously have the independence of being your own boss. And there's lots of work and opportunity out there, which we know there is, and it's growing. And I think if I went to every single shop in every town who sells LVT and said, could you do with a really good fitter, they'd all say yes and snap your arm off for them. So it is a problem, because as the older generation do, and there's not as much coming through, it potentially will restrict the retail sales. So that is a big problem we all need to address. Every manufacturer, every retailer, and not just the installers think they need help. They'll need to have people who can work with them if they got a big job. Things that so everyone within the industry needs to help out. But I can't see it. I think I said it on the podcast the other day. Is that I don't think retail isn't dying off. It's because it's still a very service-led product. LVT and flooring in general, and I think it's very touchy-feely. It's a service-led industry. It's not really as DIY friendly on certain aspects of it. So there is that demand's going to be there, but I think, like I say, what we'll find from the consumers, they'll have to be waiting longer for fitting. They'll have to. There might be people who can't sell as much product because they can't get it on the floor, and that's the biggest concern, I think, for us.
But the plus side of that, do you think actually that because there will, demand will exceed where we're currently the service levels that we're currently able to supply at, do you think that generally installation fees will then start creeping up, and we'll be able to actually start earning more from an installation because there's less people doing it?
Yeah, I think that's a plus and a minus, really.
It is, yeah.
It's a plus.
Exactly it.
It's a plus for the installers who are out there who are genuinely doing a good job.
Yeah.
And they need to be rewarded for that, because, like I say, unfortunately, you'll see skilled trades, I say skilled trades. I personally think floor laying is a skilled trade, but they were in the eyes of, say, the
electricians and the plumbers,
which are obviously going through courses and and college, etc. I think it helps them, that side of things, because they're earning. It allows them to earn more money because there's less supply. They increase their product, but it doesn't help with the expectation level of an end consumer, because the end consumer feels it's too expensive. They end up going for cheaper options. I think sometimes we need a bit of both. We need a bit of a mix. It needs to be. We need more coming through. New blood coming through to help and assist, but also to bring the prices as well down. So not bringing necessarily the fitted price. I think it also, don't get me wrong, if the demand's there and the supply's not, it does increase the price of the overall job. So people will make more margin out of a job because they can be selective of who they work with then. But it doesn't help if you've got a retail store and you've got overheads to pay and you've got staff to pay. You need to be putting meterage down. So if you can't do that because you haven't got the installation side, that's the downside to it. So I think I think the balance is getting tipped a little bit too much towards the lack of supply and extra demand, and it needs, like I say, and that is driven by the lack of installers.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said for the last few years that actually this is an opportunist market. And there's a lot of change going on. There's a lot of opportunities presenting itself. There is opportunities to be working in trying to raise the standards within the industry is one of them. Making sure that we've got an exceptional training provision. We're making it a little bit more sexy for people. Who's going to actually start trying to drive more traffic to for installers to come in. We should be going into HE education. We should be speaking to these people to say, look, why don't you come and try this trade? Why are we not going into schools and showing them the trades? It's a really creative industry that I think is so overlooked. It's unbelievable. But anyway, that is probably a podcast for another day.
Yeah,
I think, because I could probably talk about that, because I think there's so many different ways that you could look at it, and I think there's so many different ways, pros and cons to everything that you go through with it. So,
yeah.
But yeah. So just in finishing off then, how do people find out more about J2 Flooring? Where's the best place to get hold of you?
So obviously the website is probably the easiest this day and age, or Instagram. But obviously on the website we have, if anyone's interested in becoming a retailer, we have a retailers page, which they can fill in a form, and then it asks a few questions about their business, and then obviously one of the team gets in touch. We put it to the correct salesperson in the area. They can get in touch and go through what we do. But yeah, I think if no one's really ever heard of us, to check our Instagram, check our social media, check our website, have a look at the products we do, and like I say, if they like what they see, get in touch.
And go on the forums and ask other people.
yeah, and I think, like I say, it's important to be transparent and be there for people if they want a question. So like I say, that's why you can reach out on Instagram. Mm-hmm. We can put you in the right area and be very accessible, not just through a form online or a phone call and things like that, but you can pick up the phone, do anything. Like I say, we're a very open company, and we'd like to work with a lot more like-minded retailers.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on this other episode. You have recorded one before, but thank you again, and also thank you again for the sponsorship of the booth. I think everybody's enjoyed it this year. I think everybody that's walked past went, oh, there's J2 Flooring again. There's been a big buzz. So I wish you all the well for the rest of the show, and I hope you get all the sales and stuff that you need.
Yeah, thanks very much.
To make Iconic a success for next year, and it gets launched amazingly well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.